You ever have that feeling where you've stumbled onto something you weren't meant to find? Like you've accidentally opened a door that should have stayed locked? That's what happened to me at Blackwood Hollow. I work sound for Meridian Films, nothing fancy. I'm the guy who runs cables, checks levels, keeps boom mics hidden. I never operate the camera. Don't want to. I prefer being invisible, useful but forgotten. That's always been my comfort zone. 6 weeks ago, we were shooting at this abandoned property on Wither's End, this serpentine road that coils through dense forest before terminating in a Victorian monstrosity that looks like it was birthed by the woods themselves. If you're from Raven's Mill, you probably know it, that decrepit mansion with shutters that hang like broken jaws. We were capturing establishing shots, peeling wallpaper, warped floorboards, staircases that seemed to descend into nowhere. The director called it decay porn. The air inside that place. God, I can still taste it. Like copper pennies in wet soil. It coated the back of my throat, made my skin crawl. Even in daylight, shadows seemed to pull in corners where they had no business being. On the second morning, I was clearing space in the attic, my flashlight catching dust motes that swirled like silent organisms. The beam reflected off something half buried in blown insulation. A VCR, ancient, the kind with mechanical buttons that made a satisfying chunk when pressed. It was wedged between ceiling joists, tucked behind a false panel, like someone had surgically inserted it into the house's skeleton. Beside it was a torn paper bag, the kind from old rental stores. Inside, 6 VHS tapes with handwritten labels. Dates spanning 1996 to 1999. Something about them felt wrong. The labels were slightly askew, the handwriting jagged and pressed so hard into the stickers that it had torn through in places. I should have told Mason, our director. Should have left them there to rot with everything else. But something in my gut, something primitive and curious, whispered that they were meant for me. So I slipped them into my equipment bag, feeling their weight like stolen artifacts. That night in my apartment on Caraway Street, I hooked up the VCR to my bedroom TV. The ancient machine hummed to life with a sound like an old man clearing his throat. My cat, Dante, watched from the doorway, his tail twitching nervously. The first tape made sleep impossible for 3 days straight. It opened with shaky footage of the house, same structure, different era. The wallpaper was a sickly yellow, like jaundiced skin, peeling in strips that resembled flayed flesh. Whoever filmed moved with unnatural steadiness, as if floating rather than walking. No footsteps, just the soft hiss of the tape and occasional static that made my teeth ache. The operator ascended to the attic, the same space where I'd found the tapes, and then turned the camera on himself. A man with hollow cheeks and eyes that reflected the light wrong, like polished marbles. He stood motionless, not even a suggestion of breath, before his jaw began to distend. Not speaking, not screaming, just opening. The cracking sound was wet, organic, like celery snapping underwater. His mouth stretched wider than humanly possible, blood threading from split corners of his lips. Something dark tumbled out, not a tooth as I first thought, but a small obsidian stone. The tape cut to static. My hands trembled as I inserted the second tape. Stupid. So fucking stupid. This footage came from the basement, a space we hadn't filmed because the floor had partially collapsed. The camera operator's breathing sounded wrong, arrhythmic, wet, occasionally interrupted by whispers in what might have been Latin or something older. The concrete floor was scored with gouges that looked like something had been dragged, or had dragged itself. The breathing stopped. The camera jerked upward. At the periphery of the light stood something. It moved like stop-motion animation, jerky, too fast, then unnaturally still. It had the approximate shape of a human, but all wrong, joints bent backward, skin pulled too tight over its frame. It was crawling on all fours, but its limbs were too long, fingers splayed like spider legs. Its face when it briefly turned toward the light. Jesus, I still see it when I close my eyes. No features, just indentations where they should be, like someone had pressed thumbs into wet clay. The camera fell, landing with a crack that made me flinch. It recorded a wooden chair, antique, spindle-backed, for 3.8 seconds before cutting to static. I know because I've rewatched that moment frame by frame. The third tape refused to play. Just emitted this noise, this high-pitched keening that made Dante howl and flee under my bed. It felt like someone dragging a needle across the inside of my skull. I ejected it quickly, hands shaking so badly I dropped it. I watched the others over subsequent nights, unable to stop despite the dread that had taken root in my chest. The fourth showed robed figures in a forest clearing that looked disturbingly like the woods behind the house. They surrounded a table, no, an altar, where a woman lay motionless. Her skin had the pallor of old candle wax, her eyes half-lidded but unseeing. They poured something over her body, gray ash that looked like it could have been human remains. Her mouth was packed with soil so dark it was almost black, clumps falling from her lips as she made these minute, involuntary movements. One figure spoke, voice distorted through what sounded like water, not enough ash. She remains tethered. Then laughter, not joyful, but the sound of broken glass being ground underfoot. The fifth tape showed someone standing over a hole in the basement floor, a perfect circle cut through concrete to expose raw earth beneath. The camera lingered on a lone chair placed in the center of the room, the same chair from the second tape. The operator approached the hole and dropped something in, a tangled mass of black hair that seemed to move of its own accord. "Take this and forget her face," a voice whispered, the words accompanied by a sound like fingernails scraping against the inside of my skull. The sixth tape opened in a room I couldn't identify, elongated, windowless, walls stained with what looked like years of water damage and something darker that had seeped into the plaster. The same chair. The same woman, now seated, her posture rigid despite the boneless way her head lolled forward. Her breathing was shallow, each inhalation a struggle, like her lungs were filling with something heavier than air. The camera slowly circled her, occasionally zooming in on her hands, fingers bent at unnatural angles, nails torn and bleeding. Then it panned to the wall, focusing on something carved into the paint near the baseboard. The letters were crude, etched by what might have been a fingernail or broken bone. Corpus tuum memoriam portabit. I didn't understand the words, but I whispered them anyway, my tongue feeling swollen and foreign in my mouth. The syllables hung in the air of my bedroom like smoke. After a week's break, 7 nights of broken sleep plagued by dreams of that chair, that hole, those hands, I tried the third tape again. This time, it played. Mid-sentence footage. A different man in the attic, older, with skin that hung loosely like it was only temporarily attached to his skull. His mouth was filled with something that gleamed wetly in the light, not teeth, but small black stones identical to what had fallen from the first man's mouth. He stared directly into the camera, pupils so dilated his eyes appeared completely black. "She walks when the tape ends," he said, voice like gravel being poured over metal. He stepped aside to reveal the woman. The same woman, but changed. Her posture was now perfect, spine straight, head held high. No restraints. No visible wounds. Her mouth was clean, lips curled into a smile that didn't reach her eyes. She looked directly into the camera, no, through it, at me. And she nodded. Once. Deliberately. I ripped the tape out, hands trembling so violently I nearly dropped the VCR. I packed everything away, every tape, every cable, wound tight in plastic bags and shoved into a storage tub. I hauled it to my attic, buried it under holiday decorations and forgotten furniture. Like distance and clutter could quarantine whatever I'd unleashed. 3 nights ago, I worked late editing audio for a commercial. When I got home, my front door was unlocked. I never leave it unlocked. Dante was sitting at the top of the stairs, back arched, pupils dilated to black pools. That's when I saw it, a 7th tape lying in the center of my hallway floor. No label. Just a smudge of ash across its surface, and what looked like a partial fingerprint in something dark and tacky. The timecode display was running backward when I slid it into the VCR, the numbers descending like a countdown. The footage began outside, shot through dense foliage, the camera lens occasionally brushed by leaves that left smears across the image. It was my house. My actual house on Caraway Street. My car in the driveway. My living room light glowing through uncurtained windows. And there I was, wearing the same faded band t-shirt I had on at that moment, drinking from the same chipped mug I'd set down beside me. I could see myself scratching Dante behind the ears, completely unaware I was being watched. My blood turned to ice water in my veins. I paused the tape, heart hammering against my ribs. After several minutes of frozen panic, I forced myself to press play again. The image jumped, degraded quality but unmistakably interior footage now. My hallway. My bedroom door. Static consumed the picture momentarily before clearing to reveal my bedroom. My bed. Me, asleep, covers pulled to my chin. The timestamp in the corner showed 3:17 a.m., 2 hours into the future from when I was watching. The camera moved closer to the bed. My sleeping form didn't stir. It zoomed in on my face, catching the slight movement of my eyelids as I dreamed. Then it panned slowly to reveal someone standing in the corner of my bedroom, a woman with wet, matted hair plastered to chalk white skin. Her mouth moved, forming words I couldn't hear. The tape ejected itself with a mechanical sigh. I tried everything to get rid of them. Burned one in my bathtub, the flames turned green, emitted a stench like burning hair and sulfur. Buried another in the community garden 3 blocks over. Smashed one with a hammer, the magnetic tape unspooling like black intestines across my kitchen floor. But when dawn broke, they were all back in their original bag, arranged in perfect chronological order on my coffee table. The burn marks, the hammer dents, all gone. As if I'd dreamed the whole thing. Last night, I didn't go home. Checked into the Pinewood Motel on Route 16, paid cash, used a fake name. Didn't bring anything but my wallet and phone. I lay on the bed watching mindless reality TV until my eyes burned, fighting sleep until my body betrayed me around 4 a.m. I woke to static. The motel TV was on, not the channel I'd been watching, just snow and white noise. And sitting on top of the set was a new tape. The 8th. No label. Just my name carved into the plastic housing, the letters filled with something that looked like dry blood. I haven't watched it. It's sitting on the desk as I write this. The plastic feels warm to the touch, like it's been running a fever. I think I understand now. The tapes aren't recordings, they're a ritual. A summoning broken into steps. By watching them, I've been completing a circuit. I've been letting something through. The woman from the chair, from the altar, from the hole. What was done to her has somehow twisted her into something else, something that exists in the static between frames. And I think I'm supposed to be next. The next mouth filled with stones. The next one to feed the hole. The 9th tape. But here's the worst part, I can hear the VCR in the next room, the one I didn't bring with me. It's making that sound, that mechanical whirring of a tape being threaded through playback heads. And under that noise, barely audible, a woman is whispering my name. Not my work name. Not the name on my ID. My true name. The one only my mother called me. The one I haven't heard spoken aloud since she died. The door to the bathroom is opening now. I'm not going to look up. If I don't see her, maybe she's not really here. If I don't acknowledge her, maybe... Oh God. She's standing over me. I can smell wet earth and copper. Something's dripping onto this paper. Black, viscous. Not ink. She's smiling. Her teeth are black stones. She's saying those words again. Corpus tuum memoriam portabit. Your body will carry the memory. And now I understand why I had to write this down. Why I had to tell someone. Because the 9th tape is already recording.
Have you had a similar experience? Feel free to share in the comments below. This story is purely fictional. Any resemblance to real events is purely coincidental. If you enjoyed this story, please like and leave a comment. Your support means the world to me.